From the News Channel 5 Network, this is MorningLine.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on MorningLine. I am Nick Barris. It is a Tuesday, and I hope you'll join in the conversation as we get the show rolling. We're going to be talking this morning about health insurance. Okay, we're going to talk about the Affordable Care Act. We're going to talk about Obamacare, Insure Tennessee, the Supreme Court decision, and what it means to those of us living here in the state of Tennessee, the health coverage, who needs it, how do you pay for it, and the bottom line. And our guest, who's going to join us here in a moment, is just wonderful. Can maybe walk us through some of the basics, because even I'm in the news business, and I follow this, and I'm aware of what's happened with the Supreme Court, and we followed what's been going on in the legislature with our governor and health care. I'm confused about exactly what all of this means now with the latest developments and where we go from here in the state of Tennessee. So, to kind of lay it out for us, and that's the pressure on her, not me, because all I get to do is ask the questions. Michele Johnson's with us, attorney with the Tennessee Justice Center. Good morning.
Good morning.
To you. Thank you. No pressure for you this morning. You've been on before, and you always do a wonderful job laying this out. We will open up the phone lines and invite folks to join in the conversation if they want. If you have questions about your health care now, I'm not sure we can solve them for you this morning, but you may have a point of view on how everything played out as you see what we're calling the show Supreme Court decision, Affordable Care Act. So, the decision comes down, and we all know about how here in the state of Tennessee, the governor was trying to go his own way. What was your takeaway, and it's a couple weeks now removed, from the decision and what it means for Tennessee?
Well, for about 156,000 Tennesseans, it means they can continue to have affordable health coverage.
So had the court not upheld this, what do you think would have happened?
Immediately, 156,000 people would have lost subsidies.
Okay.
And the federal government helps pay for their health insurance. So for those Tennesseans, it makes health coverage affordable. It gives them peace of mind, and also it means that they won't go bankrupt because of one illness or injury. So
Gotcha.
The Justice Center, we've been enrolling folks over the last 2 enrollment periods, and those, that health coverage is really changing people's lives. People who've never had health coverage before, because it's just unaffordable. Now it's affordable. So the decision basically enables those folks to keep their coverage. And these are folks who are middle class. Sometimes you can get help all the way up to 400% of poverty, which is fairly, high income in Tennessee. But everybody needs a little bit of help getting health coverage.
Oh, absolutely.
So basically, it's a sliding scale.
By the way, did you find, and this is kind of off what the court did, but had you found, and I know for some time now, you and others have been helping folks enroll and find policies on the network for themselves. Have they worked out the snafus there?
Yeah,
remember initially people were trying to get on and couldn't find policies.
Right. For folks who are getting coverage on the marketplace, it's a lot easier.
In the marketplace, right.
Yeah. There's still snafus for TennCare folks because they have to get their coverage through the marketplace. The marketplace wasn't designed to assess eligibility for TennCare, but that's the path that they have to use. So it's improved greatly, especially this last enrollment period. And folks in Tennessee, this enormous volunteer effort to enroll people in libraries and churches all across the state. If you'd be so proud to meet the people who have devoted hours and hours to help make sure their neighbors are covered. So that was what was at stake: is would the Supreme Court wipe away coverage for all those people? And they said no. The whole point of this law is to make sure that these people have coverage, and so we're going to uphold that. Okay,
so now with that being upheld, and of course the president paid us a visit again last week and took questions, and the governor wasn't there. They still, I think, differ on some things, but now it's the law of the land. What do you see happening with our governor and the legislature, and what happens with Insure Tennessee and all of that?
Right, so last January, March, there was conversation in the legislature about should the governor's plan, it's a Insure Tennessee, it's a conservative, uniquely Tennessee plan that would cover about 280,000 uninsured Tennesseans. So these are folks who are not eligible for subsidies because they're too poor for subsidies, and in some cases they're too rich for Medicaid or TennCare. So basically, this group of people, about 280,000 people, are without coverage, and many of these people, they're waitresses, they work in hotels,
so they're
and janitors.
Poor.
Generally working folks who just don't make enough to qualify for the subsidies. If you make below $11,000 a year, you don't qualify for subsidy. So you don't get the extra help to get health insurance. So the governor's plan would have covered those people. He proposed something, he went to the federal government, proposed something, he got permission from the federal government to get that money that was set aside for Tennessee and bring it back here for our hardworking Tennesseans. The legislature said no, and we said no really because of politics. We don't like Obama. We're not approving that. So that was one of their rationales. The other rationale is this King v. Burwell decision is coming down, and that would be the end of it anyway. So we're not going to decide. We can't decide on Insure Tennessee, the governor's plan, until this King v. Burwell comes down.
Right.
So now it's down, and it's the law of the land. The Affordable Care Act is not going away. So the question is, now can the legislature look at the governor's plan on the merits? My clients who are incredible, extraordinary people, they're working hard, they're doing their part, and they just really need health coverage, basically, to have peace of mind that they deserve.
Now, give me an example, and maybe some of our viewers can relate to some of them. Okay, you talk about your clients. Can you think of one? Obviously, not using a name, but a situation. Give us a scenario for someone right now who is uninsured that is hoping something now will develop.
Well,
what kind of dire straits are they in?
Women who are in domestic violence situations, or really any women who are in divorce situations. If they were getting coverage through their spouse, and their spouse was the main breadwinner in the family, if they divorce, the moment they divorce, they lose health coverage many times. So those people are in the coverage gap. These are folks who are fairly middle class, but they're earning $11,000 a year. So they're
not working at this point, right?
Or even if they're working a little bit in order to get up to the subsidy level.
$11,000 a year is not a lot of money.
It's not a lot of money, and yet a lot of folks that work in these low wage jobs, they can't get full-time work, or their hours get cut. So they're seasonal employees, they're waitresses who, and then many of the clients are folks who've done really hard work for most of their lives, and their bodies have been injured or are giving out. They're in their 50s and they're 60, early 60s. If you qualify for Social Security disability, you don't get Medicare for 2 years. So even after it's clear that you have such severe disabilities that you qualify for Medicare, you still have to wait for 2 years.
2 years.
Those people are in the gap.
Right.
Students are in the gap. Young people who are full-time students, if they don't have coverage through their parents and they aren't earning $11,000 a year, they are at risk of losing their scholarships, because in many schools you have to have health insurance to stay.
Don't some of the schools provide? Can you get insurance through the schools?
Some schools, but a lot of schools dropped those programs when the Affordable Care Act came along.
All right.
Yeah. So that's small business owners, people who are starting a small business, entrepreneurs, musicians who are starting out and trying to break into the business, or small business owners who are trying to, basically start something. If they haven't got $11,000 a year, they don't earn enough. So they're going without coverage, which means they have one car accident and they're bankrupt for the rest of their life.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, the options for these people then now would be what? I mean, how many give me a number. How many of those folks are there?
280,000 people across the state.
As it stands right now?
Yes.
Still waiting, and they don't have the insurance.
Right.
How much money are we turning away here at the state of Tennessee right now that we could be taking if we joined on?
Yeah, it's about $1.2 million a day.
$1.2 million. Think about that just for a moment. I still remember when you came on before and said that much money right now we're not accepting.
Right. It's set aside in the federal government for Tennesseans, and we're not using it. And meanwhile, our citizens are suffering. They're suffering anxiety, and some of them are in great pain. So I think that the other piece of this that's super important is if those people are in a car accident and they show up at the emergency rooms of hospitals, the emergency room has to treat them.
Right.
And so which
is very expensive.
Right. So if you look at Kentucky or Arkansas, who took the federal money that was set aside for them, their uncompensated care numbers have flatlined. They have hospitals that are stronger, hospitals that are doing better. Our hospitals are doing much worse because this uncompensated care number just keeps growing. So this is Kentucky's uncompensated care. This is ours. And that uncompensated care is passed on to us, the insured. It's passed on to taxpayers. The hospitals can't just keep taking those costs. The fact is, the Affordable Care Act was supposed to cover everyone, so the hospitals gave back money so everyone could be covered. Now they're not, and hospitals are really struggling. And
especially the rural ones, aren't they?
Yeah, that's
you hear
right.
them a lot of them are going to shut down.
Right. So that's important for insured people, because if an insured person, even if they have health coverage and they're driving and get hit by another car, they have a small window to get to the hospital, or if they have a heart attack. And if that hospital is closed, that's a matter of life or death.
All right, on that note, we have to take a break. When we come back, we can take some of your phone calls, 737-7587, if you want to join in the conversation. Your health situation, what you think should happen next. If you have a question, Michele can get into that with you as well. So we'll continue our conversation about health care in Tennessee, what it means now in the wake of the Supreme Court decision on Obamacare, right after this. Stay with us.